time.
Do you want to go ahead and start, Mara? Because Mara really has the schedule.
Yes, I just started the recording, so we're good to go.
All right. In 3, 2. Good afternoon. Wednesday, July 13th, 2022. You're attending a meeting of the Board of Ethics for Baltimore City. The time is a little after 2:30, and we will begin. We will call the meeting to order. And at this time, I will ask if there are any concerns or updates. I will let you know that per the Open Meetings Act, the board did adjourn its public session on June 8th, 2022 to enter into administrative session at approximately 3:23 p.m. with 3 board members present discussing administrative matters, including complaints. Likewise, the board may need to close some or all of this meeting today to preserve the confidentiality mandated by the Ethics Code or is otherwise authorized by the State Open Meetings Act. And upon adjournment of the open session today, the board may reconvene for an administrative session to discuss non-public administrative functions of the board. Thank you very much. I'm Stephen Fogelman, and we will turn this over and ask for approval of the written minutes of the June 8th meeting. They were sent out by Mara. I have no corrections. Mara, do you have any update?
One small correction, it says statement concerning December's administrative meeting on the minutes itself, and that should say May administrative meeting. So I'm just going to make that one little change.
Okay,
Right,
I move that
Mara.
we admit them with the change Mara suggested.
So, sorry, was this for the June minutes or the May minutes?
This is for the June minutes, but there's a line where it says Chair Fogelman's statement concerning the May's administrative session.
All right. Sorry.
All right, I'll second Melly's motion. All in favor of approving the written minutes of June 8th, 2022 public meeting, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All right. Thank you. That's unanimously approved. We'll turn now to the ethics officer's update.
All right. I have our metrics. They're a bit lengthy because I have all of fiscal year 2022 as we're closing the end of this fiscal year. So I'm not sure if we want to jump to new business because I know we have Director Augustine and Deputy Director Wells from the Mayor's Office of Homeless Services on the lines. We may want to jump to that and return.
I agree completely. All right. Without objection, we'll move into the charitable and governmental gift solicitation waivers, Journey Home Baltimore application from the Mayor's Office of Homeless Services. Thank you very much for being here today.
Thank you so much for having us and appreciate being able to meet everyone virtually and to go over this application.
Great. So tell us what's beyond the application itself. Is there anything you want to tell us it's not therein? I'm trying to pull it up right now.
Sure.
The contributions will be for the benefit of folks experiencing homelessness. Security deposits, everything.
Mm-hmm. So just a little bit of background in terms of our structure. The Mayor's Office of Homeless Services is an office within the Mayor's Office, obviously to coordinate homeless services. One of our funding streams, which is the Continuum of Care funding, which is funded by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, is one of our major funding streams. It funds about $25 million, and it helps to keep roughly about 85% of the people that were formerly homeless housed. In addition, there are a variety of programs within our homelessness response system, from outreach to emergency shelter, to various housing interventions that are not only funded by Continuum of Care funds, but also leveraged through Emergency Solution Grant and other state funding that we received. As part of the COC funds, we are required by this funding stream to have a Continuum of Care, which is basically a consortium of stakeholders, from providers, to people with lived experiences, anyone that has any interest towards reducing and ending homelessness is a part of the continuum of care. As part of this, to ensure that people with lived experiences have the ability to participate in the work that we do towards ending homelessness, along with other initiatives that either help someone to resolve their housing crisis relatively quickly, such as the Flex Fund. The Journey Home has made those a priority to be able to support. The Journey Home itself is not a 501c3. The Mayor's Office of Homeless Services serves as the grantee for the COC funds from HUD. And so we take on a lot of the backbone support for the Journey Home. But to ensure that we have the participation with people with lived experiences, that we're able to offer the Flex Fund, we work with them and a Baltimore Civic Fund to ensure that that those funds can get directed to those two priorities. We've had in the past foundation and corporate funders that have funded the Flex Fund and the stipends for people with lived experiences. And so the application reflects really that partnership. You know, there may be some opportunities where, and I would say it would be more of coordination than solicitation of funds from philanthropic organizations or corporations would happen. That largely is something that the Journey Home will, I would say, negotiate, but because there needs to be more of that formal structure there, that MOHS would be a part of that. And then because we aren't in a position to accept the donations directly, that's why we had the partnership with Baltimore Civic Fund. And so the application, I know it's very complicated because it is complicated. Tried to explain it as simply as possible. Really is what we wrote in the application in terms of where the funds would go towards and how this would work. But that's probably the simplest way to discuss the setup that we have here. And so we just want to make sure that in the application that it spells that out, that we also understand, you know, the role of MOHS versus the role of the Journey Home and the Baltimore Civic Fund and what that partnership looks like. It also does lay out that we would be required to do quarterly reports. We are talking with Baltimore Civic Fund to make sure that it's set up and established and we have a process for that. And we work very closely with the COC to ensure that they have the appropriate process, not only to ensure that those funds are deposited with Baltimore Civic Fund, but that we also have a process in terms of allocating that to the right initiatives. And then Bill might have some things to say. Thanks.
I didn't want to take the chance of talking over you, and then I just talked over Stephen. Sorry about that. So I wanted to also point out that the COC is the sort of official title of continuums of care. Baltimore City has one, other jurisdictions have one. As Irene said, that's the HUD requirement for receiving funding, and that sort of separate process. The Journey Home is sort of the branding of the COC in their strategic plan and their materials. So I wanted to make sure that there wasn't any confusion. When we say COC and Journey Home, it's interchangeable. It just a lot of times depends on who's talking about it. The way the funds are set up with the Civic Fund, it is the Journey Home at the Civic Fund. So that's reflected in the application that we filed.
And thanks, Irene and William. I think as we understood it, even though the continuum of care, Journey Home may, you know, itself as an entity technically might not be considered a city agency, we figured it was best practice for MOHS to put in this solicitation waiver to kind of cover cover all potential bases there. Is that kind of it in a nutshell?
Yes.
Perfect.
All right, so that's our understanding. Irene and I have been
Yeah.
here just over a year. So this is the first one that we've done, but that was our understanding and,
Yeah.
and it made sense to us.
Are there any
Well,
questions?
Oh, I mean, I don't have a question. I was just going to jump in and say, first of all, your application is probably the most well-written and robust one we've received, at least since I've been on the board. And we really appreciate your additional comments to help explain it even further. So thank you so much. I don't have any issues with this solicitation waiver.
Very well. Thank you all for being here today.
I did have one, oh, I'm sorry, Arnold.
No, go ahead. Arnold, do you have a question? Go ahead, William.
Well, it looks like Arnold wasn't getting off of mute. All right, so while he's changing headsets, I'll say at the time that we put the application in March, and I'm correct in calling it an application, right? Yes, application for approval. Katie York was the chief of policy and partnership. We don't want to not continue this on its way, but we'll need to amend it subsequently when we have a replacement for Katie, which should be later this month. She had departed about a month ago, a little over a month ago for another job. But just when you see this again, it's going to come back with her replacement listed.
And I think we've said in the past that sort of kind of minor change you can just note in the reports. Your next report
okay.
it provides a space to include any updates to the original application. So if it's not too substantive, I think you can just note that change in the report.
And I appreciate that, Jeff. We just look to your guidance about how we have to note those things. But I appreciate it. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Arnold? All right, we can't hear you, Arnold. Got to put your DJ headset back on.
Well, I think we were hearing him via the phone, and maybe he hung up the phone. I think that might be the issue here.
How about now?
Yeah, we can hear you really well.
Okay. Am I reverberating?
Yes, I think we're hearing you on the computer. You could probably hang up your phone. Maybe not.
1 second. Think you can hear me through the computer now?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. But of course, when I did that, I can't hear you. Darn it.
Oh, that was the issue.
No, it's one of those things. It's just one of those things we try to grow with our electronics, but sometimes there's a glitch that we don't anticipate. And so if you can hear me, I still apologize for this this debacle. But the question I wanted to raise was just a minor question. But I will forego it because I can't be interactive temporarily. But thank you. I did hear a very articulate presentations by Irene and by Bill. So thank you very much. I want to try to get back on the site.
And I would just say if there is another or follow-up question, we're happy to respond. So if Arnold wants to, or
so please continue without me, please.
Wants to send that to us, we're happy to respond.
Bill and Irene, thank you very much for being here. Have a great day.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Do we have any discussion? I agree with Melanie's assessment of the thoroughness of the application. All right. Hearing no argument.
Welcome to the audio conferencing center. Please enter a conference ID.
All right. Hearing no robocalls, I move that we approve this application for waiver of solicitation.
Second.
All right, seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, it's been unanimously approved. Let's move along to the Mayor's Office of Economic Development Programs application. And do we have someone with us here today for the employment development?
No, I don't believe anyone is here. I did invite them, but I wasn't sure if they would be able to attend. That being said, we took a look at this application back in, I think, January. It went before the BOE way earlier in the year. So we had seen it. It's nothing new. And they had waivers for these initiatives in the past. So I don't foresee there being too many issues, but I can always follow up with them.
Well, yeah, YouthWorks, it's not a stranger to anybody. We're talking about YouthWorks, right? Yeah.
And I think this was the one, they had a couple of related programs that I think in the past they had received individual waivers for, and they had asked about the potential for including them in one waiver. That's this one, right, Mara? And months ago we had advised that would be okay if they spelled it out in the scope, and I think they've done that. If this is the same one that I've reviewed before.
That's right.
Yeah, I don't remember having any problems with this at all at the time. It's also, like I say, not these are pretty much long-standing programs. Is there any debate? No. Okay. I'll move that we approve the Mayor's Office of Employment Development Programs application waiver.
Second.
Okay, we have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, and Arnold, if I can see a hand.
I don't think he can hear you.
I can try giving him a call again.
Yep. Let's do that. Should we table that for a moment and wait?
I think maybe
Hey,
until
Arnold,
he can hear us.
Arnold's communicating with someone.
But also, Steve, I'm not entirely sure that Arnold heard our first approval vote. So we might want to double back
Sure.
and
Oh,
double
will
check.
we get him? Yes, good call. All right, I think we should probably take 3 to 5 minutes and reconvene. Any objection? All right,
Nope.
we'll convene the meeting for 5 minutes. Thank you. Okay. All right, I'm still on vacation brain. I think I said we'll convene for 5 minutes. So let us re-adjourn. I hear you loud and clear, Mr. Sampson. All right.
Thank you.
We wanted
Good.
to make sure we know how you voted on the first waiver, which was the Journey Home application from the Mayor's Office of Homeless Services. Are you in favor? Okay.
Yeah.
I had called,
Favor.
I had seen your hand. I saw your hand, but I don't know that you could hear us at that point. All right.
Well,
And then second, Melody, we'll wait. I guess we already have 2 votes in the affirmative for the MOED programs application. So Arnold, what is your vote on the second waiver application?
Positive, affirmative.
All right, so that also is unanimous. And then we'll wait until Melody's back and we'll run through the mayor's back to school waiver.
I'm
just gonna
here.
Pull up those. Oh, you are here. Great. All right, Melody, we're moving on to the back to school event, an annual event from the mayor's
Yes.
office of children and family success.
And this one,
we
this
don't
one was already approved, just throwing that there. So we had approved this via email about a month ago. And so I just wanted to actually give you all the approval. So that one, nothing what to do.
No vote required.
Yeah,
Okay,
approved
great.
contingent on BOE endorsement, and that all happened. Was that the one, or no?
That's a different one. This one received BOE
So many
endorsement
different ones.
a long
Alright.
time ago, and they had sent it to the board, but now it's been approved by the board.
All right. And then would you prefer us talk about old business or get an update at this time?
Sure, I can run through the metrics. They're kind of fun because they're for the whole year. So I'll just run through them real quick. So our annual report, I've been working on our annual report, and that deadline is in August. So I'm about halfway through, and I'll make sure to send that to you all for some input once I'm towards the final version. So our ethics training this month, or in May, we had 136 people complete the training. June 17 and July 10, that's because we're transitioning to a new system. And we have 64 people who are currently registered for an upcoming session. Our total training attendees for fiscal year 2022 was 872. Last year was 356. So that was our best metric for this year. We did really well with ethics training. I also took a look at our training results. Our average rating, our survey results. Our average rating is a 4.24 out of 5. And we asked, is the information engaging and understandable? 73% of people said yes, and 24% said somewhat, about 1% said no. Do you better understand the training? 86% said yes, 12% said somewhat, and about 1% said no. And how would you describe the information? About 6% said it was too technical, almost 2% said it was not technical enough, and then the remaining 92% said it was just the right mix. So that is our fiscal year 22 ethics training metrics. Help desk, we received 92 requests in June. 4 were from lobbyists. That brings our total for the year to 85 from lobbyists compared to 78 last year. We received 2 in June about gift solicitations. That brings the year total to 57 compared to 36 last year. We received 41 requests about financial disclosures, bringing our total to 793 compared to last year, which was 1,101 questions about financial disclosures. So we went down about 300 for financial disclosures, which is great because most of the questions were technical. So a lot of people are more familiar with this site, and we didn't get as many questions. For ethics inquiries, we received 29 in June. The total is 356 for this year compared to 231. So that went up over 100 requests for substantive guidance. And then finally, or 2 more, 10 requests about the ethics training, bringing our total to 178 compared to 44 last year. And then 3 requests for administrative, bringing the total to 28 compared to 14 last year. So we've gone up in every single category, excluding financial disclosures, which is, I think those are great trends for us. So our total is 1,536 questions and requests compared to last year, which is 1,512, which is only like a 20 difference. So we were very consistent with last year in our numbers. We have
So it looks like it looks like the trend is for the stuff we want to go up went up, stuff we wanted to go down went down, and we still had an overall net increase in help desk. So I think that really testifies to getting the word out there on a lot of different fronts.
Absolutely. And one other group, which I didn't mention, is total we received 39 questions outside of the board's jurisdiction compared to 8. But that just shows that a lot of people are looking us up. So this year was a really good year for our metrics. And then I'll move on to complaints. We have received 1 new complaint, which was dismissed. It was outside of the board's jurisdiction. That brings our total to 14. 2 are currently open, and 5 of those were outside of our jurisdiction this year, compared to last year when we had 17, and 7 of those were outside of the board's jurisdiction. This year we issued 9 advisory opinions. Last year we issued 5. This year we issued 2 secondary employment waivers, and last year was 1. And then for gift solicitations, we had 3 new applications. 1 was approved via email, the other 2 were just approved. 1 campaign expired, and for total, we had 25 waivers this year. 15 were approved this year versus 10 were approved last year. All right, so then the next topic is financial disclosures. On June 13th, I referred 121 outstanding filers to the Office of Inspector General, to Isabel, and then I sent all of those outstanding filers, their agency heads, the solicitor, and the director of the Department of Human Resources a copy of that referral, as well as correspondence from the Inspector General. And we are now down to 68 outstanding filers, 47 employees, and 21 board members. So the question is how we should proceed from here. We are at more than 60 days late. So under the ethics law, the board may refer these outstanding filers or recommend they are suspended without pay until they file. So that is a discussion that I'd like the board to discuss how we want to handle these outstanding filers. And that is it for the metrics.
Is that something that we discuss in this session or an administrative session?
I think we can do that administratively because it's sort of you administering the law. But I think for the public purpose, it's good to know that we're at 60 days, and so at least the board has the prerogative to, recommend that those employees are suspended without pay.
Okay.
Agreed.
I have a
Mara?
comment, May.
Sure, so
Well,
go ahead.
sure. Go ahead, Arnold.
Only if I don't want to comment that interrupts Mara's flow of information. I thought that you had basically given us what you were going to give us, but is that the case, Mara?
Yes, that finishes our metrics.
Okay.
All right, and then
comment.
Arnold, is this something we want to talk about the metric or in administrative session? Is this
I
a
think it is.
substantive comment about? Okay, yeah, I think that it would be appropriate to discuss that administrative session at that time. So
Okay, I mean,
okay, so yeah, with no objection, do we have any questions? Any other questions for Mara?
Excellent work.
All right, Mara. Yeah, definitely. It's amazing. Just thank you. This is going to be 2 great reports back to back. So thank you very much. With that, let's talk about old business, which really is the future. Let's talk about the charter amendment. Do you have an update for us on that, Jeff or Mara? Or Isabel?
Oh, you both can kind of weigh in since you approached it from separate spheres.
I can start. We actually appeared in front of the city council, and we argued to them that this, with the amendments that they suggested, which of course would take all the ethics part out. The only thing that ethics would have to do is pick the name out of the hat. But with the amendments, we were very much in favor of it. Unfortunately, we had some questions as to the equity of it, because Nick Mosby's counsel called in, and he felt that because we only listed the Baltimore City Bar as one of the 3 organizations who could pick the three organizations where the so-called experts would come from was the Association of Certified Public Accountants, the Association of Certified Fraud Examiners, and the Bar Association. Well, they felt that it wasn't diverse enough with the Bar Association because we didn't include Monumental Bar and we didn't include the LBGTQ Bar. However, ironically, the president of the Baltimore City Bar, it's more like a Venn diagram, you know, every people are included. So the president just happens to fall into the Monumental Bar, and then one of the other members a little lower down falls into the LBGTQ Bar. So, but they decided that they were going to look more into that. So that was why it was delayed, and the last chance possible to pull it out is the 21st of July. And I don't know what's going to happen. So if it gets pulled out then it goes to this entire council and it should appear on the ballot in November. If it doesn't, then it's dead.
Or it's missed the boat for another 2 years or so. So.
Well, the problem
right.
is this, but this is a big problem. And I think you should realize this. That leaves the current board of elected officials and city employees to pick the next inspector general.
Yeah. All right. Anybody else?
Well, let's
first-hand knowledge. Or, yeah.
Let's stick with that point. What can we? Is there anything we can do to be proactive to have an outcome that's more egalitarian?
I think Mara actually did a great job. She testified on your behalf, and she just said that the board with the amendments would be in favor of it.
Okay.
I don't know what's going to happen at the next one.
Both the board and the IG were, asked to give a report on it. I know there's a little bit of overlap here, obviously, but we had all talked about the board's position during the last meeting. Mara was wonderful in representing the board's position. Steve, you signed the report, and it did dovetail in this instance with the IG's report. So yeah, I think it's just a matter of timing now, if we can make it.
Right.
Okay.
All right. Anything else on this one? All right. I think it's appropriate to go ahead and adjourn this meeting and move into our administrative session.
Oh, no, please.
No. Okay.
No. I apologize, but I when you said administrative session, I was looking for the code word, our confidential session that that's required for us to do our business. I mistook the label. I want what I want to say to be on the record for this part of the session, in part because of Mara's report being as good as it was. And the second is that though it's going to sound slightly redundant, it's not, I don't think, not completely. I was concerned that the report submitted by Mara shares very favorable information with respect to the impacts of the renewed Board of Ethics for Baltimore City, and that is the way it's been restructured. It has brought about greater awareness in the city's agencies, greater adherence to the Baltimore City Ethics Code. In the previous meeting, I did respectfully suggest that maybe having that information publicized in one of the publications, one or more of the local publications, would be a good idea for the public to see. That is, as delightful as those statistics were, I want the general public to know what's going on in addition to the city agencies and their employees. I want to go a step further. I occasionally watch Channel 25, I think it is, on Comcast, It may be a different number, of course, a different number for DirecTV or whatever, but it's the public access channel. And I watch the city council meetings and some of the city board meetings. I can see the ethics board meetings on that channel. I think it's important for the city populace to know about what the ethics board is doing. I have no ulterior motives. This is not about self-aggrandizement. I'm the least attractive person on the board. I should be forced to wear a mask, in fact. So it's not about me having any ego issues. Quite the contrary. I think that the city of Baltimore is in a post-pandemic haze, and that a lot of our functions in the city were impacted by the pandemic, and some of the efficiency the city enjoyed before the pandemic was lost. Water bill processing, accuracy, responsiveness to requests to the Department of Finances, on and on. I think that the public might take heart and be made to feel more confident that that Baltimore is a place to live if they knew that they had there's a board charged with monitoring certain things about how functions in the city in terms of ethical behavior. Frankly, I'm old enough to remember, though I was young, Hyman Pressman, who considered himself the watchdog of the city. When he was replaced by several comptrollers, no one else took on quite that stature. We, in fact, in some small degree, are trying to do some aspect of what he held himself out to do, some part of that. I think one of two things should happen, maybe both. That when we have meetings for the Board of Ethics, that we should formally encourage a representative from I'm thinking of the Baltimore Brew, the Banner, the Sun Paper, and there's also the Baltimore. What's the other legal newspaper? But there are four.
Daily Record.
Thank you, Daily Record. Thank you. That we should formally alert them to the meetings and invite them to have someone. Okay, if that's feasible, possible, legal, and makes sense. Secondly, I think we should also have the things that the videos that are aired on YouTube aired on public TV, so that the public can see what's going on. I think it would make people feel better about how that someone cares about how the city is working, and that some entity is scrutinizing it. So I wanted to make that part of the public meeting today, so that it's on record of this, as something that the board considers. I'm a team player, which means if the will of the board, the preponderance of the board is no, this is not feasible, too much. Okay, but I think it's a good idea. Thank you, Judge Vogel.
You're very welcome. I happen to agree with you, and we appreciate your sentiment. Is there anything else before we close the meeting today? All right, then we will consider the public meeting adjourned. Thank you.